Hello, hello. Did
Good
we make
morning.
it work this time? Yes, I think we did. Yay! Yay! Good morning to our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us on Coffee Time this Thursday, February 17, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We are coming to you from Miami. It's a wonderful weather today, as always. And,
Yeah,
whenever, I connect with people online, on LinkedIn or whatever, and they always say, so how's Florida? I'm like, well, Florida is great as always, beautiful Florida. And it has been quite an active season with a lot of people moving down here, actually. So it's been really great meeting new people. Um, for those of you returning to see the show, thank you so much and welcome back. If you are new to the show, please give us a thumbs up or a hands up in the chat so we know you are new. I want to encourage you to subscribe or like the page that you are actually watching us from, the channel that you are watching us from, just so you can get the alerts whenever we schedule the next one. You won't miss it. And again, we go live on every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. A quick introduction before we start. My name is Marie Torossian. I'm a certified public accountant and a chartered global management accountant, an experienced auditor and a CFO. And as a transformation coach, I have created a proprietary and a registered methodology called Valuation MT, which I use to help business owners grow from their first million to 10 million and upwards. And that's something actually I'm talking about on a series on Clubhouse every Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and the group called Landing Big Whales. So if you want to learn a little bit more about my process, why don't you join me on Clubhouse every Wednesday? We've only covered 3 already, and the replays are there, so you can always check the replays first, and then come join us starting next Wednesday. I've also authored a couple of books, one of them being The Operationals Guide for a Business Owner. And the other one is, oh my goodness, A Guide to Business Growth. Oh my goodness, it's just a lot of guides, right?
I
And I just
know.
get blah, 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 blah.
That's good. That's good.
The Guide to Business Growth and The Owner's Guide to Operational Accounting. So both of them being available to one of them as an ebook download. It's free to you, and I'll put the link down there. The other one is available on Kindle for purchase, and I promise you, you will learn everything that I've experienced in the past 12 years as an auditor and a CFO. All that information is out in there for you to learn and put it right into works into your business. With that, I wanted to welcome my featured guest, my friend, and my tax colleague, Pedro Gonzalez.
Good
Hello,
morning.
hello, Pedro. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We are on full force. The tax season is here, but that is not going to stop us from
No, we're
coming
not.
here and having our cup of coffee
Yes.
and having nice chat. And so it's great to be here. It's a great weather, like you said. And exciting times that we're living, and so we gotta take it take it one day at a time. That's all I can tell our clients, to be patient. I know some concerns. Well, good morning, everybody. Pedro Gonzalez, CPA, business and tax strategist. We help our clients achieve their financial goals through cash flow management, lowering their tax through tax planning, developing a tax-wise tax planning program, and exit strategies. I mentioned before, we're all gonna exit. It's just gonna depend on how. And if you
Yes.
have a good plan, your exit can be a beautiful exit. So that's what we're here for, is to help you achieve those goals through the different stages of your life and your business. We have put together our free guide on the real estate investment tax strategies. There's a link available, and like I said, it's free. Is well received. We're getting some good feedback. It comes. We added to that is a 7-day e-course that adds additional value to that information that is already in the ebook. I'm working on the S-Corp tax guide that I had intent to do it before the tax season, but uh, I made some changes, so I'm gonna postpone it until after the tax season. But I'm sure it's gonna be a good information for our readers.
Sounds wonderful. And I was going to make sure that we put in your ebook link, and I clicked the wrong one. So I put that.
No, that's all right.
Which, by the way, which kind of like reminded me, I forgot to say my boot camp is coming up March 11th.
Yes.
So I'm very excited about that because I've noticed, as an entrepreneur myself, right, and you are too. As an entrepreneur ourselves, and then also working with different clients, we get to see a lot of experiences, like different situations and problems they have in the background.
Correct.
So, and I felt like it's really like I really have to put something together that most people are not talking about. There's a lot of gurus out there talking about sales, marketing,
Correct.
automate this, automate that, but no one really is talking about how to set your business for success with all the accounting and finance and all the things that you need to make sure you have a structured way of growth and scaling. So from that end, I was like, well, this is something no one's really talking about in a boot camp format, in an event format. So it's my duty to do it.
Exactly.
So with that, I also felt like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur. I've gone through specific hardships, and it could be from mindset. It could be different triggers that could kind of sabotage you, or it could be time management. It could be responsibilities you have with family members or friends, whatever it is. But as an entrepreneur, there's just so many things bouncing off of you while you're still struggling to build this business. So I figured a mindset piece would be so helpful and so important, where I can share some of my learnings, what I had to change to be able to put myself in a success pattern. And because I can do the accounting and finance and look at my numbers and play with that and put the right budget and the forecast as I need. But from a mindset, there was a big learning I had to do. And of course, from a business development and marketing, I'm going to be having a guest speaker come in, a friend of mine who's been in that area for like 20 something years. That's going to be so helpful. So 3 key areas that I feel like every entrepreneur should be starting off with, getting education that's not available out there in the format that I'm doing. So I'm excited about that.
No, that's great, and it's a well needed information. Like you said, instead of rehashing the same information you see over and over, to address the specific areas that truly are hurdles that prevents a business from succeeding.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We understand that cash flow is important. Not to say we don't need to talk about it, but there's other aspects that seems to be left out of the conversation. You know what I mean? You don't, not to say nobody's talking about networking, but the importance of, especially you as a young or startup, the importance of the connections that you're making.
Absolutely.
And you don't hear how relevant that is as an asset to your business, because that connection could be the one that can help you either get your first contract. It can be the one that connects you with another potential prospect, that's the one that closes you see what I'm saying? So those kind of things that needs to be added, like you said, the mindset. How do you present yourself in a way that delivers? I mean, are you convinced about what you're selling? You know what I mean? Even the word selling. I mean, I know that even entrepreneurs enter into this world, and they have this aversion of selling. I mean, we're selling, all of us.
True.
So you gotta get over that. You gotta get over that. I mean, we're all selling. And that's unfortunate, because you don't see that being taught. I mean, when you and I went to college, they don't talk to us about us as selling.
Nope.
You know what I mean? Or attorneys as selling. I mean, we're all selling. Doctors have to sell.
Right.
And so those are kind of other things I see can affect the success of an entrepreneur. 2 individuals starting in the same line, but a different mindset, that one has different tools. They go to your boot camp and they can gain a different tools that another entrepreneur does not have, and it gains, and even started with less capital, financial capital, but it has the right amount, the right mix between financial capital, mindset, connections, and boom, it takes off.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, when we were in college, nobody taught us about we will be selling. We never even
Mhm.
thought of it in that angle. You know, that angle was not even presented anywhere. And I remember while at the firm, the other firm where I started as a staff member, and I would see that, you know, as you grew up the ladder, the chain, you became a manager and then a partner. At the partner level, you're literally just selling.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and I remember I'm like, well, how are they learning how to sell? And it wasn't, and I could see some people talking about, you know, some struggles because it wasn't their nature to kind of
correct.
be the talkative person. They were the more technical accountant. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just the concept was never presented to kind of prep yourself as like, at some
Yeah,
point, I'm going to have to do this.
it's a, that we're all in the people business, Marie. You know what
True,
I mean? And this is
true.
something again that entrepreneurs has to understand that,
Yes,
you remember the last episode you mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned in the episode, maybe it was you and I talking outside, but the when you're dealing, for example, in my case, we're dealing with taxation, and then you have to bring the news to somebody that they're going to owe taxes,
yes, that
and
was
you
me
see
last
at
time.
times that their faces, you know what I mean, and we're dealing with people. How do you deliver this message to somebody for them to
Right.
do it in a way that you know understanding the effect of this in another person's lives? And
Yeah,
so, or be there, for example, you have to deliver the news that, listen, you have, I can project some bad news as far as the projections, how this is going to look
of
based on the
course.
trends.
Of
You're
course.
you're going to be facing some problems. So how do you deliver that message? So we are all in the people business, and this is
Yes.
something we have to come to understand.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, yeah, with that mindset is why I really wanted to put this out there. And I think it's going to be super helpful for any entrepreneur. And actually, yesterday during my clubhouse talk, one of the people from the audience brought up something like, what about this, you know, average, you know, person that's you know, a plumber, let's say, and wants to start a plumbing business, the average person that hasn't even gone to college and they start a business and they're just literally set to fail. You know, I did some research the other day, and 62% of businesses fail the first 2 years. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
nobody's starting
yeah.
a business to close it down in 2 years.
Mhm.
So if someone is really serious about their business, they need to also invest in the knowledge that will help them grow their business. So it's not
Right.
like, let me figure it out all the time by myself. That can only take you so far. But if you have the right information right at the beginning instead of halfway through and you're almost falling apart and you have no money left, that's too late. Too
Mhm.
kind of, it could be too
Mhm.
late. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm very excited about that. So I know today we didn't have a very specific subject, and we kind of going off of different ideas
Yeah.
here, and it's sometimes good that way because it's
Yeah.
you know, it just feels like just us having a good conversation. You know, and we always like to be fully unscripted. Anything
Yeah.
interesting happened this week
Yeah.
in your you know, in your business, in your
Well, the I what kind of comes to mind right now is that I know that there's like the questions that at times I'm asked. So I
uh-huh.
figure why not discuss it? You know what I mean? Share with the rest of the audience. Some
Yeah.
of them may have already been addressed in prior episodes. So if it's something we already discussed, I encourage you to go back and get the details of this information.
Hmm.
But one question that came up just recently, somebody asked me about the tax deadline. Now, by now, you will think everybody should know this,
Hmm.
but there's still confusions in some arenas about the deadlines. And the easiest way to remember this is pass-through entities is March 15th. S
Yes.
corporations, partnerships,
Yes.
trusts are going to be March 15th. The individuals and regular corporation, or sometimes we call it C corporations, are going to be April 15th.
For 15.
That's without extension. Then you add to that the extension that would add another 6 months. So that will be September 15th and October 15th.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the simplest way I can help somebody to understand it. You know what I mean? Um, Now, the other question that comes up is LLCs. Okay, so what about an
Right.
LLC? Okay, well, you have to. it depends on how the elections that were made.
Right,
And I
right,
try to
exactly.
explain to individuals that LLC by itself, in essence, really, the IRS does not know what to do with an LLC.
Right, right.
So they have to understand that the mere fact that you created an LLC is not by itself you have to make an election of some sort. If you make no election and you have two or more partners or members, it's going to be a partnership. That's what the IRS is going to do with this. So
Right.
in that case, if you made no election, you have two or more members, it's going to be taxed as a partnership. So
Partnership.
is March 15th. Now, if you made an election and you made an election to be taxed as an S-Corp, March 15th.
March 15th.
If you made an election to be a C-Corp, then April 15th.
April 15th. Got it.
So
Yes.
that's the one that
Yes.
kind of, it depends the election that you made for that entity.
Right. And if it's a
So-
single member LLC, then it's going to roll right into the 1040.
Exactly.
So then it's April 15th.
April 15th.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. So
That's great. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
but in any case, what is important when you're approaching, and again, we're discussing calendar year entities. So,
Yes.
just again, to simplify all this, but what I think is important is that you reach out to whomever is your tax preparer in early enough so then you understand what is your deadlines.
Right.
If you have any question, of course, you can reach out to us. But that was a question that just recently also came up. Okay, then the other thing that also comes up is about the extensions in payment. If you owe money,
Right.
again, the extension is extension to file. I think I know that
We
it's
covered this a
assumed, but
little bit.
some
Yeah.
people still have the confusion that you're not extending your liability.
Right.
So right now, individuals and corporations that are not gonna file their returns until the extension deadline, we still do an estimate.
Correct.
Because we want them to pay by the deadline at the latest, by the deadline of their extension. At least pay your taxes.
Yes.
And then we file an extension, and then we decide then to maximize. Because then the next question that comes up is, should I extend or file? You know what I mean? And that it depends. Because in some cases, it behooves the taxpayer to go ahead and extend. Because extension, as long as you have paid the taxes that we estimate that can be, that should be paid, then you have minimized any potential unnecessary penalties for underpayment.
Right.
Then you have time now to gather information to properly file returns. So instead of rushing through, especially the more complex returns, should probably consider extending. There's no you're not going to be penalized by the simple fact that you extended.
Yes.
In some cases, it might behoove you to go ahead and extend it so then you have the proper time to gather information, so then you can maximize your deductions, and then develop. There's still, potentially something that you can do after the year end, or at least to make sure that my accounting I'm giving enough time to my accountant to, make sure that let's go to this number, my numbers are reconciled, so then I can file a as accurate as possible of a tax return. Instead of rushing, no, March 15th, I have to get this out. And then you rush, you plug in those numbers, and then let's say you forgot. Oops, I forgot to include this deduction. Now the only other option now is to amend. So now you have to go back and amend. Amendments at times can cause. I'm not saying that by itself is a red flag. I mean, I know, I'm not saying that it by itself is a red flag, but you have to be careful on the reason to amend. You know what I mean? Because it does bring an alert, especially when you're going to come now and claim a missed deduction. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not a big issue if you forgot to include income. You know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just doing the right thing.
Correct.
I'm making sure that I'm telling you everything that I missed from a revenue perspective. I'm going to pay you more taxes.
Yeah, no. In that case, amendments are for paying more tax. But when it's the opposite, now forgotten deductions, you overlooked on the deduction, then it's going to probably look a little bit differently. So that's why we encourage is that if you do have complex returns, that it's better to extend, get the proper time to compile information, so then you get minimize the potential errors in the preparation. You know what I mean? Those are kind of what I call the war stories, things I have seen that causes problems. And so I figure let's share this with the
Sure.
audience. So the deadlines, the extension, when to file. The other one that somebody asked me just recently too was about accounting software. And again,
Oh, I'm getting that a lot too, actually.
yeah, and I will tell you that when it comes to the accounting software, I there's varieties. Okay,
Of
so I'm not,
course.
and I'm not. I get no commissions from QuickBooks, but
Yeah.
I can tell you that if I had to recommend one, I would recommend QuickBooks. It is right now the standard of the
Yes.
industry. There's a lot of applications that can be attached to that. I
Yes.
think
They have
most
open
accountants
source API.
understand it by now. You know what I mean? So you gotta
Yes.
find that it's gonna be easier to move from one accountant to another if you have to.
True.
A lot of tax softwares integrate with QuickBooks. So if I'm gonna recommend one, it's gonna be, again, that's and it's a pretty strong opinion. So my opinion is to use QuickBooks. I
Yes.
would encourage any of our audience in here to, if remember, we're talking about serious entrepreneurs, and if you're really
Right.
committed and
Right.
invested into this business, I would strongly recommend is to, one, get a strong accountant that is going to work with
Right.
you and ensure that you have a good accounting software. No tax
Absolutely. I agree
planning
with you. Hmm.
or tax preparation and tax planning, it is as good as the information that is going to be used for that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So if you're going to come back with weak financials or an Excel spreadsheet, you can tell me all you want. No, I reconcile, but it's going to be difficult to visualize. How is it that you got to this number? I will have to do some extra work to
Yes.
ensure that
Agree
the
with you.
numbers in fact balance.
Right.
So when somebody comes to me with Excel spreadsheets or some sort of
Hmm.
other form, it is at times challenging to determine was this properly reconciled. So I would strongly recommend is a strong accountant that can help you, properly account for the numbers, to reconcile. I would strongly recommend is that the QuickBooks, ideally QuickBooks Online. That's the
Yes.
one that we heavily use with
Yes.
our clients. Yeah, you do too. So
Yes.
it's easier for the connectivity between us and our clients, and it's easier as far as accessibility. We're not restricted to a desktop version that keeps you. It has some limitations of its own. So
Yeah.
that's, again, my opinion. There's, again, yes, there's other options, but I would strongly recommend the QuickBooks Online when it
Yeah,
comes to
and
accounting.
QuickBooks has this, a lot of different options of, like you said, the open source API allows for a lot of different connections. So that's on my end when I'm working with clients, I can plug in a lot of different software from, let's say, if it's a cash management software or if it's
Mhm.
a forecasting or planning software, and I can create dashboards that are a lot better maybe in a different partner, let's say, software, and it's better to integrate than to use maybe the QuickBooks Online option. But at least from a QuickBooks Online perspective, I think it's a very good solid software to use for the make sure everything is accounted for properly, reconciled, and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I absolutely use it. All my clients are on QuickBooks Online, and I have heard some other people say, "Oh, my bookkeeper or my accountant really messed up my QuickBooks, and they didn't know what they were doing." But that you have to know the difference between, is it the software or is
Correct.
it the bookkeeper accountant's knowledge? Because
Correct.
and sometimes maybe, let's say, a person may know what they're doing, but they maybe not be familiar with the actual software you're using. So you want to
Correct.
also make sure that the person is not only knowledgeable in the accounting and bookkeeping concepts, but they actually know how to use the software to make sure everything is reconciled properly and in a timely manner too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah, I've been getting a lot of that. People asking me
Yeah.
about, what are good accounting softwares. That's the one we use as well, and we've used it for 4 years, 5 years now. And I know some others that have used Xerox and FreshBooks, and they're just not there yet. They're not as well known, and at the forefront of accounting software. QuickBooks has been around for a very, very long time, and they're always adding new features into the online version. So it's and like you said, it's very easy to plug in your tax accountant, your bookkeeper, or your other
Right.
accountant, your advisor, because you can plug in different accounting firms in the back end to give them access to your books.
Exactly.
So it's more of a relationship, and it builds that connection, instead of here, send this one thing, send that one so different.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting the same information right from the book. So that's a good one. Awesome.
Exactly. Then how much we still okay on time? The because another question that came up is now that we're already past the 2021 deadline, what can I do to lower my taxes? You
Hmm.
know, while there's limited options, the best one I can tell you right now, if you own a business or individuals, is contributions to retirement plans. I mean, that's basically what it boils down.
Yeah.
That's to me one of the best options right now. The advantage for, if you still, even if you have not established a retirement plan for your business, you can still do it, even after the until you file your return, which is another reason at times to extend, because
Right.
you have until the extension deadline to open and make contributions.
Yeah.
So if you need some extra time, you know what I mean? So then you can make the calculation and how much is that contribution. But if I can tell you, well, instead of making it now, March 15th, or by March 15th, you have until, let's say, at the latest September 15th, you have the time to accumulate the funds and make that contribution, and it still be counted for 2021. So, so that's another reason. Again, that's why at times extensions might be, strategic for you to do that.
Hmm.
But the basically the best thing you can do right now, if for 2021, is it's going to be, again, the accounting, making sure that you have gone through, as carefully as possible through your accounting, making sure that that you have accounted for all your possible deductions. And then the other option that you have is going to be your contributions to retirement plans.
Yes, that's a good one. And what the business owner can do is that, based on that retirement amount that they're going to contribute, even if it's after the closing of the year, is to make sure they accrue that liability of what they wanted to pay. Even if the cash is going to go out in, say,
Correct.
2022, you are recording the contribution expense back in 2021 and just
Exactly.
putting it in your liability account, saying, okay, I'm going to contribute, and it's due to, however, I haven't paid it yet, and I'm paying it now in 2022. So
Yeah.
that way you kind of cover it within your 2021 expenses. It's right there, covered. No questions asked there.
Yeah, and that's why, and I'm sure that, again, talking about war stories, I'm sure you have seen
Yeah.
financials that do not reconcile to your tax return.
Oh, yeah. All
You
the
know what I
time.
mean? And that's why I mentioned the need of having a strong accountant. If it's not the same person preparing your tax, at least a strong accountant, somebody understands the
Yes.
importance of the reconciliation. So then the numbers are well accounted for. Like you mentioned, even certain accruals, certain things are recorded that needs to be recorded, so it's properly reflected on the financials. And then number two, making sure that there's a good reconciliation between what is reported in a return versus
Right.
what is on your financials. I have seen this. You will not believe how many times, especially in IRS audits,
Yeah.
it's a typical procedure. I mean, again, our audit background helps us because you understand that they're gonna be asking you for copies of tax returns. They're gonna ask
Yes.
you copies of your financial statement. You wonder, aren't you auditing my tax return? Yes, but their auditing is making sure that what you're telling us in a return, it matches with reports that you're sending,
Exactly.
let's say, to your bank and so on. That's why then they're going to
Yes.
ask you for your financial statement, copies of your QuickBooks. They're going to look at your general ledger. So they're going to be looking at those things to see if there's a reconcile between what you have in your financials in
Yes.
what is actually reported on your tax returns. And I will tell you how many times I have seen financials that are being prepared, poorly prepared. And number two, at times they too do not, I don't like, they seem like
Yeah.
they pull numbers
Yeah.
and it has no correlation between what is on the financials or when you ask for their copies of their QuickBooks and you have to now represent this client on an IRS audit and the numbers do not match.
Yes, yes. I've seen it mostly on the valuation side of things when I'm
Mhm.
trying to compare the tax returns and the, internal financial statements. And I'm like, okay, what did they write? What is this? And what is that? Why is salaries one thing here and it's another thing here in the tax
Yeah,
return? And especially when we're looking at the officers, compensation, and it's something that's considered in evaluation. And I'm just looking at the numbers and they don't make sense. And I'm just like, I don't know if the accountant actually relied on a different set of financials that I have to ask for
yeah,
the tax accountant. What did you rely on? So
correct.
it could take, it could be very confusing, and then it could just open a can of worms, because you're looking now just to looking at so many different things, and truly, if the business owners, if they're not really making sure that the taxes that they're filing are really reflective of what they have in their books, they're just it's really bad once they come in and start opening Pandora's box of give me this,
Yeah,
give me that.
yeah. A lot of times the effect of those events you don't realize until unfortunately when either you're going to be audited, you have to go to your bank and ask for a business loan, and your banker is the one. I remember having a meeting with a banker friend of mine and telling me they're kind of war stories about how many times they receive business plans and the projections make no sense.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it just they look at it as like, I don't even know how I can even present this to our underwriters, and it just makes no sense. Many times that she was telling me how is it that they bring the business plan and then they bring a request for the loan, a loan application, and sometimes sometimes there's no correlation between the application, the business plan, and the tax return. And you gotta wonder how is this possible? You're asking for a
Yes.
loan amount and a loan application, but in the business plan, there's a different number.
Different number, right?
And this is
So
importance of connecting all these dots. So then there's
exactly.
uh, you minimize the risk that they're gonna toss it. And she even told me, listen, you know how many business loan applications we get? We
Right.
really have no time to do the reconciliation for them. You know what I mean? So they'll push it to the
Exactly.
side.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because they gotta get to the one that okay, this is a hit. Let's go to this one. And
Right.
so this is important to invest. Again, I don't know if this is a fourth or fifth time I said it today. Is the importance of a strong accountant, because a strong
Absolutely.
accountant will be able to spot these things for you. At times, it's gonna challenge you on the projections. You know what I mean? And I know at times, oh, you're being no, I'm not being negative. Is that doesn't make sense? Doesn't make sense that your revenues are going in this direction, but your cost of goods sold, it seems to be flat. Actually, your percentage goes down.
Right,
No, it
right, right.
doesn't
It's
make
remaining the
sense.
same. It's not possible. Right.
Exactly.
It's not
And so
possible.
that's the good eye of a strong accountant that has a season. You know what I mean? That understands these variances that are expected, and there's a correlations between receivables and revenues, between
Yes.
payables and
Yes.
costs. You know what I mean? And it can analyze these things and help you better present, for example, in this case, a good business plan.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's an area that we work on quite a lot. And a lot of times, some clients have said, well, I can come up with the numbers. But then once they start working with me, they're just, I constantly challenge the number. So where did you get this number one? What are
Mhm.
you relying on this? Are you sure this is going to be producing X numbers? Or, those are the types of conversations you want to have with your accountant. You want to
Correct.
have that challenge, because the result of that kind of a challenging, interesting conversation is going to have a better produced business plan, or if it's projections for the future, it's
Correct.
going to have a more of a realistic way of growing the business, whatever it is, the end intention. it's just going to have a more realistic and logical numbers, right? It's just, and from a perspective of the investor or the loan officer, they're always going to see, they're going to look at how can I make my money back? Am I going to make my money back?
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, why would I give you my money?
Correct. No, that's what they're there for, Marie. I mean, they're not there to do the accounting for you or give you, they're there to analyze this number as quickly as possible.
Right.
And so then we can put our investment. I mean, if it's a private equity fund, their doing is to where can I put our money to work,
right,
in a, have our investors a good return. So then we can put this. But it has to make sense. I mean, you got to put yourself in the shoes of the investor.
right.
I mean, you have to be able, these numbers have to make sense. And I tell people, listen, it's better that you and I hash out these numbers before you have to explain to an investor or a bank the reason why your numbers don't make sense. You know what I mean? So it's better that you and I sit here and let's hash it out. Let's go through it. You know, if you pass,
Right.
in essence, my test, you have a greater chance to be fundable.
Of course.
Now, before you want to, hey, Marie, come on, let's finish it here. And it's going to look bad. I mean,
of course.
It's embarrassing. You're going to get in front of these people that are seasoned. I mean, they have been doing that. This is all they do is analyzing these numbers. So they quickly spot something that could have been resolved, and you could have moved to the next level, the next stage of review by simply addressing this now. You and I sit down, let's analyze this. I'm telling you, these people go through so many of these that they quickly spot the problem. No, next. Okay, let's look at this one.
Yes.
Let's move it to the next level.
Yes,
that's what
absolutely. I love that. That's right on. And I'm so glad you brought these questions, to us today. And it's I know some of them we had covered more detail, so I really want to recommend our viewers to go back to some of the other videos where we actually covered much more detail on the deadlines and when to file extensions and when to pay. All of that is in a previous, I think, 2 episodes prior, where we really went into deep dive on that. So if you have that type of questions, go back and check out one of those. So yeah, I think we are at the top of the hour. Well, we passed a little bit, but it was a great conversation as always. So with that, I want to leave you all with a quote from a motivational speaker that I love to always repeat, and it's my thing that I'm following myself, and that's what I want to recommend to you. And that's from Jim Rohn, where he says, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." So I hope that we are the 2 of the 5 people that you are spending your time with to learn and grow your business. So with that, I want to say, have a great rest of your week, and we shall see you next Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time.
Very good.
Bye, guys.